For today's story, the maxim that snitches get stitches apparently applies to the military as well, as an ex-army sergeant has admitted murdering his fellow soldier by stabbing him 40 times for being a snitch. Probably not the greatest response. Let's get started with this. A former U.S. Army sergeant admitted to stabbing a fellow soldier to death in retaliation because the victim turned on the killer's friend for using marijuana. Yeah. Brian Booker, 29, of Georgia, pled guilty to one count of premeditated murder of a member of the U.S. Armed Forces, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Brian Booker murdered a fellow soldier in cold blood in retaliation for performing duties as a service member. The FBI and the Department of Army Criminal Investigation Division did outstanding work in solving this despicable crime and bringing Booker to justice. Yeah. The body of 21-year-old specialist Austin Hawk was found in his room in Fort Stewart Barracks in June 2020. He had been slashed or stabbed 40 separate times, according to a medical examiner. Authorities also believe that Booker may have had help. The co-defendant in this case, Jordan Brown, who also is from Georgia, is the person who Hawk was required to report on for the suspected drug use. Hawk did so, and Brown was subsequently subject to urinalysis. After it came back positive, the Army initiated involuntary separation procedures. In acceptance for legal culpability for the brutal death, Booker said that he and Brown talked about silencing the specialist at the Fort Stewart military reservation in response to the marijuana use. Brown was angry at Hawk as he believed Hawk had cost him his position in the Army, his paycheck, housing, and possibly a relationship with his father, according to the plea agreement. The document goes on to say that the defendant Booker and Brown agreed something should be done to Specialist Hawk because Specialist Hawk was a snitch. The pair discussed beating Hawk up, damaging his car, or breaking things in his room. Defendant Booker suggested that Brown, while serving as the staff duty runner on June the 14th or 15th, remove a barracks master key from a key box and surreptitiously provide it to Booker. According to the plan, Booker would travel a short distance to Hawk's barrack room, use the master key to enter, silence Hawk, and then return the key to Brown before anyone knew it was missing. Great. Brown expressed some doubt about the plan's efficacy, but Book was adamant that it was foolproof, according to the plea agreement. Who's gonna find out, he asked. It's gonna be 4 a.m, dark, ain't nobody up, ain't nobody gonna be outside, no one found out. They found out. When Brown still expressed reservations, Booker tried to still his doubts by saying, they aren't gonna have anything. We don't even know if they can check the locks. They're not gonna find anything. They found things. Still, Brown resisted, eventually saying that Hawk's death was crossing the line because punishment should fit the crime. Booker insisted on the murder, but Brown repeatedly said that Hawk should not be silenced. In the end, Brown suggested that Booker break Hawk's jaw instead, according to the plea agreement. A few days later, just after midnight on June the 17th of 2020, Booker unlawfully gained entrance to Fort Stewart by walking around concrete barracks at the commercial vehicle entrance. How that was not guarded, I don't know. Then he traveled a mile on foot before making his way to the barracks. Based on electronic lock records from Hawk's rooms, it appears defendant Booker somehow caused Hawk to open the door from the inside. Maybe just beat on the door until he answered, I guess. Austin Hawk appeared in uniform in an image posted by his family. Apparently, after a prolonged struggle, Hawk was dead. He'd been stabbed with a blade in the brain, lungs, and kidney. That kind of would do it. A 3-inch gash across his throat, medical examiners, was believed to be the fatal blow. During the fight, Booker accidentally cut his own hand and it was bleeding as he left. That would be part of how they found you from the, yeah. Brown would later tell investigators that he heard a tussle, but he thought that Hawk was just exercising or moving furniture. Booker was arrested within hours. Yeah. Booker's plea deal is a direct result of the hard work and persistence put in by the FBI, Savannah Residency Agency, and our partners at the U.S. Army and U.S. Attorney's Office. Hawk's family and friends will never be rid of the pain of this senseless murder, but hopefully it gives them some sense of resolve to know that justice was served. Brown, for his part, is currently awaiting further proceedings on a litany of charges, including conspiracy, assault upon a member of the U.S. Armed Forces, conspiracy to retaliate against a witness, retaliation against a witness with bodily injury, retaliation against a witness with killing, murder of a member of the U.S. Armed Services, and premeditated murder. How exciting. The heinous murder of Austin has left his family devastated, I would think. They're in disbelief to find out their beloved son was murdered by fellow servicemen. No family should have to endure what Austin's family has gone through. It's unimaginable to realize your child who was serving his country would be murdered by the very people he called brothers. Let's wrap this up. So that brings us to the end of the story for the moment of Brian Booker and also the co-stories of Jordan Brown. In this case, two people conspired against a fellow service member because the fellow service member reported one of them for doing drugs because it's his duty to do so. And he did his duty and reported it accordingly. And it was lawful for him to do so. And also probably mandatory for him to do so because, orders and all. But Booker and Brown over here are not having any part of it. And apparently, in a conspiracy, decided to murder him. One of the co-conspirators was less sure about it, but was still part of the conspiracy. So, yeah. And so they stabbed him 40 times and then hurt himself and bled on the floor. And it was arrested within hours. No one will find out. They found out before breakfast. Yeah. So that's what's going on with that story. And at least for a moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this tale.